All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. Of course, chat is moving. We've got Webster's Wares, Clank, Good Morning Sticks, and fellow clankers. And the Dashing Rogue. I sent you a DM via Twitter regarding the dates of availability to guest on my podcast. Let me know when you're free after your trip back. Yes, that'll be in a while. It's an indefinite period of time, but I'll let you know then. When I do get back, please bump it to the top because it'll probably get buried by other DMs. I get news tips all day, like 20 or 30 of them usually, so they go fast. We've got some funny news today. Bill Maher is correct. I know he's like a broken clock, right? A couple times a day, but he is correct on this one. Bill Maher calls Biden cadaver-like compared to Trump and says he is Dracula. He was on there with Joy Behar and all of the other libtards on there. And I mean, he's correct. We'll be analyzing it for what it's worth. It's always funny. Him and Jimmy Dore and a few of the others, they keep trying to warn other liberals, hey, you're so sure that Trump is going to lose and he's going to go to jail and all of these other things. They're trying to talk him back from the ledge, and they just won't listen to them. When Bill Maher makes a comment like that, they say, well, he's far right now or something like that. And it's like, no, he's trying to help you, dumb fucks. Thank goodness you're too stupid to take his advice. Federal probe targets Waymo's robo-taxis amid traffic safety concerns. I have a different idea in mind. Banning self-driving cars entirely forever because they're a terrible idea and they should not exist. Elvis Presley's Graceland, man. Peanut butter and banana sandwiches. One of them lobsters was Dick Nixon there, Chucky. If you've never seen Will Sasso as Elvis on Mad TV, you should probably look that up if you want a cheap laugh. I will always shout that out. His granddaughter is claiming fraud in the case of Graceland. They're looking into effectively liquidating the property and selling it at foreclosure. And that's literally going on tomorrow, the potential auction. There's an emergency motion to try to block this from happening. This is one weird hell of a case. Some of the claims that are being made are like, it's like, what the fuck went on with regards to Graceland, especially Lisa Marie Presley's actions, fiscally speaking. I mean, it makes no sense. By the way, for closing, couldn't you just auction off like any two of Elvis's cars and probably make up that, what is it, $3.6 million difference? They've literally got Elvis's planes there. His planes, his cars, gold records, and everything else. I'm assuming that they're worth more than the foreclosure amount that's being optioned here. Well, you never know. They're probably just trying to steal his property or something like that. So, I tend, in a preliminary sense, without necessarily knowing everything about the case, to side with his granddaughter on that one. Biden admin trying to cancel student loans for 160,000 people. This will be injuncted, by the way. We'll get into the vote buying grift and why the younger voters that are celebrating this as some great victory should not be celebrating, because none of them are going to get a goddamn penny from this, even if it doesn't get injuncted and eventually downed by the court system. Fani Willis has won her re-election bid for DA down there in Fulton. Not a surprise, and also good. Had she lost, you could end up having her swapped out with someone who looked less corrupt. This is good for Trump, actually. And she was, by the way, Nathan Wade was at the victory party. So they're probably still doing the fucky sucky. Imagine the smell. She looks a little bit like Kamala Harris. So if you haven't seen a picture of her, lowered expectations apply. Another Mad TV reference. U.S. to sell off strategic gasoline reserves in the Northeast. Actually, a good idea in this particular case. Some people are doing the Biden is selling all the oil thing. This time, no. This time, actually, it makes sense, the decision that is being made. We'll get into why. Just because we hate Joe Biden, and trust me, I do, on more than an ideological basis, doesn't mean that every decision his administration makes necessarily is doom and gloom. Sometimes they do something that's sensible. It just but people won't give him credit for it because most of what he does isn't. And also, we've got a reanalysis from Science News of Cadaver-like, actually. This is anthropological news. This is in southern Turkey, one of the earliest significantly advanced human settlements, Neolithic period. They're trying to sanitize our understanding of Cadaver-like and claim that it wasn't really that organized. It wasn't that impressive. I beg to differ, and partially I base that on other archaeological remains within that general region of the world. BW, I don't know if I trust one juror in the New York trial to have a soul. Oh, I don't trust anyone to have a soul, but that doesn't mean that they're going to find him guilty. I have a feeling it might be a hung jury, actually, with the Alvin Bragg trial. Straight up metal detecting, Styx, Razor, Benny, Salty, 4 horsemen of MAGA. Yes, and the horseman of the apocalypse if it's Razorfish steak. You know, in other words, charcoal. Chris Kelly, A up to tone. Dat Pie over there. Shout out to Leo Y86, who regularly muckrakes China for the hollow failed state that it is. Recent vid showed how fake gold is scamming people en masse. Yes, fake gold is a big problem. They take actual gold and they wrap it around something of similar weight. And so you end up getting like a billet of lead instead. China's notable for fraudulent business activity. Sebastian Monroe. Why am I looking at myself over here? Usually I pause that. I forgot. Last night during the storm, I took refuge at my dad's barn and accompanied the chickens. When I played your live stream, they stopped what they were doing to watch you. The chickens seemed to like you. Yeah, because they know that I might eat their eggs, but I don't really like eating chicken meat, so. Your friendly neighborhood weenie dog. Hola, clankers. Hola to you. Robert Manley, Styx, what is the German word for virgin? Gutenteit. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't know any German. I know some Dutch. Not a big fan of Germany. Never really drew me in. I've been in Germany a couple times. I mean, for shopping, it's a lot cheaper than shopping in the Netherlands. A lot of people go over the border to get their goods each week. But I don't know. I prefer the more laid-back Dutch culture, I think, to the rather cold and stoic German culture. Trip Boom. Styx, this morning lard-ass video was hilarious. Reminded me of the Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke when he was in the police station talking to the sergeant, calling him a lard-ass. Lol. Yeah, if you're not following me on Rumble or BitChute or Odyssey, then you're not getting those new tech exclusives, by the way. I couldn't put that on YouTube for obvious reasons. Discriminating against someone who's 500 fucking pounds because you physically cannot push her wheelchair up the ramp onto a plane. Actually happened. Sith 22. Thanks for letting me out of jail. Many thanks to Anton for helping me out. Clank, yes, my apologies. It took me a minute to actually figure out how to unblock you on the live stream. Alan Tenaz, Fani Willis, so fat she uses Saturn rings as hula hoops. Clank, yeah, that's an old joke. Almost as old as me. Not a band account. Do you, if ever two of them, I did have a dream, you. I don't know exactly what that is. I'm not sure if that's meant to be a troll or if you use autocorrect. My apologies. Gristle lumps. Imagine how bad a second term of Biden could be. Pretty fucking bad. Speaking of Biden, let's go to Bill Maher's estimation of Biden's capabilities. New York City, comedian Bill Maher expressed his concern Tuesday, it's more than concern, that President Joe Biden appears far older than his opponent, former President Donald Trump. That is, fact check, correct. At 81, Biden's mental and physical ability to hold the most powerful office in the world has emerged as a top concern for voters. I would think the economy and the border have leapfrogged ahead of that, but it is a concern. The president has made a habit of committing public gaffes. Most recently, Biden erroneously claimed he was vice president during the pandemic under former President Donald Trump's administration. Oh, being old, Maher continued, does not make Biden an ineffective president. It is the president's appearance that is concerning, he said. I mean, this is where he's wrong. He is inept. Bill Maher is pulling the punch here. He has criticized Biden before. I think that he is actually aware that Joe Biden is not doing a good job in the sense of public policy and so forth. But, I mean, if you're on The View, your time to Joy Behar, you probably don't want to trot that out. We are not young, but we don't present as old, he said. Oldish, in Maher's case. You're not as fucked up as Biden, so, you know, you've got that. Biden does. I saw him yesterday making that speech. I mean, I'm sorry, he's cadaver-like. But his brain is good, host Joy Bashar chimed in. He's still great. Maher went on to compare Biden to the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who, according to some of her critics, tarnished her legacy by failing to resign during a Democratic presidency. He's Dracula, Maher said of Biden. He has crossed oceans of time to be here, and he's not going to give it up now. Now, the funny part about Maher's spiel here is that one of the things he said to make people afraid of Trump is like he never wants to relinquish power. Like, if he gets a second term, he's going to try to be, he's going to be like a dictatorial figure. But then he says the same thing only a minute and a half later about Joe Biden, that he's not going to give it up. He's stuck and corrupt and stuck to the power. The conversation also turned towards Trump's odds of winning in November. Maher predicted Biden may find re-election difficult due to his decision to decide with woke social justice initiatives. He's right on that one, too. What's going to get Trump elected is this woke stuff that a lot of people in this country just don't go for, he said. It could also be the economy, the border crisis, the rise in crime, especially violent crime. The fact that we just got a report from the DEA itself the other day that cartels from Mexico are now operating in every U.S. state. Those things are meaningful. Oh, yeah, and then there's the whole World War III thing. But no, just chalk it up to the fact that he looks old. Well, it's not that he looks old. I don't care how he looks. I care about his cognitive abilities. He's not great. He's not done great his entire presidency. One of the first things in his presidency that was newsworthy was him breaking his foot after he allegedly was chasing his dog in the shower trying to grab its tail. That's not the sign of a sane individual who understands that he's, at the time, 78 years old. That's the sign of somebody who is beginning to lose it and does not understand that they are sundowning. Beans. Thoughts on possible Nikki Haley RNC coup? 0% chance of that happening. She can wait in the wings all she wants. Even if Trump were ousted from the role and inevitably runs as an independent, spoiling the entire election in the process, it wouldn't be Nikki Haley. It'd be more likely to be DeSantis. James, Maine State Senate GOP will likely flip 2 to 3 seats. Yes, very likely. Caledon, been watching for years. Stay awesome. I hope I continue to be. Catch 22, longtime listener, first time comment. Do you know if angel sigils actually represent angels, or is it just made up to sell church merch? It's made up to sell church merch. The same of the sigils that are associated with basic daimonic forces in the world. People take Renaissance era writing a little bit too seriously sometimes. BW, Germany needs to get that cold culture back. Jesus, if they are cucked like this, what chance do the rest of us have? Yeah, it is kind of funny. Oh, Webster's Wares is now a monthly supporter. Thank you very much. You get that little castle next to your username. I don't know how those work, actually. Supporter Plus, sub, Rumble Premium user. And yeah, there's several of them over on Rumble. I don't know how they work, actually. I just don't know. I've never successfully super chatted or Rumble ranted. I can't figure out either site and how to actually give people money, which is sad because sometimes I'm like, for a couple of dollars, I can get read out on screen. It's actually a good proposal because then people have to mention my username and then that gets me more attention from other audiences, but I can't figure out how to fucking do that. I've thought about having like a weekly stipend sort of thing. Like, here's the $20 that I'm going to use to shout myself out on random streams and get more notoriety. But I can't do that. Cost-effective advertising. Great idea. Impossible in principle. Federal probe targets Waymo's robotaxis amid traffic safety concerns. Is this a wake-up call for the self-driving car industry? What do you need to know about the investigation? Is Waymo still considered safe? What about other self-driving cars? Is it time to get in on the trend now, or is it better to wait until this technology improves before stepping into a self-driving vehicle? Here's what you need to know. Wishkaba Faraf Ranchka French Poo Poo Gigi. Some of you get the reference. I'll answer the question. Fuck the federal investigation. Ban self-driving cars. They should not exist. If you want to have autonomous mass transit that's on its own lines, not connected to traffic, generally speaking, that's perfectly fine. For trains, for trams, for anything like that, I'll probably try to put it in planes. And no, thank you. I think I would rather have a physical pilot there. And if they croak or something, or they're on drugs, there's usually a co-pilot, so no worries. There's a low chance, a low probability that you're going to crash into the Atlantic Ocean, for example. I'll be flying over there with all the octopuses and giant squids and 100-foot-long whales and all the other creepy shit that exists in the ocean, and I'll be perfectly fine. I don't worry about it. I don't have flight anxiety except with regards to getting to the plane on time. I always make sure to arrive at least a half an hour before I technically do, because just like it stresses me out massively thinking, okay, there could be an extra long line in security. There could be a technical glitch. The plane, like the one on the way back, oddly could leave 5 minutes early inexplicably for absolutely no reason, and they shouldn't be allowed to do that, by the way. All sorts of considerations. Flying itself is safe, but I do not want a self-driven anything. I would never get into a self-driving car, a taxi, or my own car. If they try to snuff out the manually operated car market, I'm simply going to get an older vehicle. And I'm sure in rural America, there will always be somebody who's good with cars, who can be a mechanic and get it to pass muster. I'm worried that in the future, they'll try to ban them outright by making it impossible to field them. But I mean, at that point, I guess I'm going to have to learn to ride a bike. I'll just get an adult tricycle or something like that. And I'll say, well, I don't need to travel anyway. Fuck you. I don't go outside of the county unless I'm traveling internationally. And I can always figure out getting to Burlington. It's not that difficult from Rutland. There is a direct link, kind of. Back when I was at UVM, when I had to take the bus back and forth, one bus goes to Middlebury, and then you have to wait for the next bus to connect to Burlington. And it was really, I'd sit there for an hour. Thankfully, I had people that I talked to online and shit, so I had my old brick phone, and at least I had someone to talk to while I stood there waiting in the cold, waiting to get back to college or back home. I chose to spend my weekends at home as often as possible because much lower stress. Fuck the dorm room. So on the weekends, I think that the dining halls opened later. So it's like, you're depriving me of food. I need me some tuna noodle, and you ain't making it. Taco woman Sandy Ravage. What happened to Soph? Used to enjoy her content. Yeah, she sort of disappeared. I don't know if she's still active. Soph, the content creator, I think she'd be like 19 now, I think. Teenage content creator that she went viral because she did a gaming stream and she was saying various slurs on the stream, and then she sort of became a commentator. No, I haven't seen of her lately, actually. Come to think of it. Sparky, greetings, fearless leader. Greetings to you too. Opinionated junkie, NVIDIA earnings are later. Hope for the best. I don't give a shit. So yeah, my last word on self-driving cars, don't investigate the company, ban them. Keep them off the roads. I don't want an autonomous vehicle that could get scrambled by a solar flare driving behind me. That seems like a recipe for disaster. Imagine if you have a whole bus fleet in a city and it's all autonomous and EV and all this bullshit, the grifting climate change horseshit, and then they all get scrambled by a hacker. Well then, oh yeah, only 200 people died. Yeah, no, that's not a big concern. It could happen to anyone. Mina Bukowski, good morning. Love your shirt today. Yeah, this is one of my favorites. It's the lightest and most cool shirt that I can wear, and it's like 85 degrees right now. I managed to protect the pak choi, but those peas, man, I think they're going to bolt. After the live stream, I got to soak them down, try to protect them. If they do bolt, I'll just plant bush beans or something. Those don't require much effort. Scott Baser, up for some libertarian sci-fi smut? The Not Safe Space Kickstarter is live now. Yeah, okay. No offense, but no, maybe. BW, Sticks, I almost choked to death thinking about you riding an adult-sized big wheel. Yeah, I can't ride a regular bicycle. Never learned how. So I'll just get an adult tricycle, or I'll get one of those that has like the thing at the front with the extra wheel, like for groceries and shit. I can make good time going down to the center of town and get some exercise in the process. That's okay. Won't really work in the middle of winter when you've got 2 feet of snow on the road, but other than that, no problem. Ionized G. Hey, Sticks, you should check out yesterday's Side Scrollers episode. Razor Fist on the same stream as Kirsch was not something I expected, but enjoy. Maybe. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. Let's get to our merch partners before we continue with the weird story in Graceland. We've got pumpkinfirecrafts.us. Use code STICKS there. Also, you can get bookmarks, amulets, my favorite, engraved spoons, belt chains, keychains, and more. They also have non-sticks merch available as well. So, just get whatever you want. Everyone could use a couple of good bookmarks if you're a bookworm like me. I've got several. They are in use. There's a reason for that. There's several in the bathroom as well, actually. My parents have a thing for bathroom literature, and I don't really understand that, but, they're nice bookmarks. We have BuiltOnUSA.com or AntonsUSA.com. Use code STICKS for free shipping on all of your meaty needs. Oh, he's got everything available, and also really good chamomile tea. It's the second strongest I've ever had after the tea that I literally grow in the garden. So thank you. You know, whatever you do with the tea that you're importing, it's stronger than what you get from Celestial or something like that. We've got Sticks, Hex, and Hammer tumblers, mugs, and shirts available as well. And people keep going there like it's the mecca of Roanoke, Texas, so they can get their meat and clank on. wickedneedleembroidery.bigcartel.com, the land of Sticks, Hex, and Hammer hats in several varieties and colors, of course. Offset Ouroboros, Central Ouroboros with Sticks, Hex, and Hammer below it. People were they were demanding those become available. It's not a surprise, though. Everyone needs a hat or two. Heritage Heirloom Seed Company.com. Yes, indeed, the seed bucket that you can get there. It's a big collection of seeds. You could probably plant a couple acres with it. Of course, my garden is large, but it's not quite that large. But most of the seeds and seedlings out there, they come from Heritage Heirloom. They generally did very well. And also, you can get soap from them, including the Sticks, Hex, and Hammer soap box with the clove, cedar, and blueberry blend. websterswares.com/sticks-wares. Use code STICKS there as well for a discount. And you can get Sticks, Hex, and Hammer merch like metal straws, so you save the turtles, beanies, of course, among other things. They've also got Trump paraphernalia, some survivalistic stuff, and various miscellany. Jamandbean.com, JAMNbean.com, the land of delicious coffee and tea with the Costa Rica blend that I drink as often as possible because it's just fantastic. Imagine a coffee with almost no acidity. Like even when it's, you know, it's been in the pot for a while, but even after that, it's still good. Like some coffee, it gets increasingly sour and rot gut. It doesn't do it with that one for some reason. I don't know exactly how they formulate it, but it just works. MTPew.com, MTPEW, that is, Bearded Grizzly Ammunition. You can get range brass or you can get newly manufactured in various calibers. Most of the standard calibers available, 9mm, 45, 223, etc. And finally, BrickMuseum.com, one of our new merch partners there. They've got the Lego Museum in Bellaire, Ohio. They're available now. They are open. The other day, I mistakenly, for some reason, I thought that they opened on the 23rd. I was wrong. They are open now through August. And if you look at the pictures on their site, that's one massive collection of Legos and Lego paraphernalia. I'm probably going to try to get over there at some point, you know, maybe in August or something. I know the weather's hotter there in Ohio than here, so I don't want to go out of the frying pan and into the fire, literally speaking. But I'll probably attend at some point, just like I have to visit Anton. And that's down in Texas. That's hot, too. I mean, everything's hot to a Vermonter. We can't help it. We're a strange people. OMG Puppies trots in with a slightly chewed $10 bill. Interesting. And Javon Halen, do you still talk to Ramsey Paul? Yeah, I mean, I'd go on his show sometime, too, if that's available. I like Ramsey Paul. Yeah, we get along. Dane, look up Tesla backseat driver. It's prime idiocy. Yeah, I like Elon Musk, what he's doing with Twitter. Starlink is great. You know, all of the other things. Tesla actually, despite being, I think, his most profitable venture, is the one that I dislike. Even the Boring Company is a better idea overall, although they're not a flamethrower is bullshit. You can get a military-grade flamethrower off the internet with simply showing your ID, and you can even get napalm fuel mixes for it. So, yeah, I'm not going to go with the oversized weed wand. But I don't like EVs. I don't like self-driving cars. I think that automobiles are already fine the way that they are. I would never drive one that was an EV. I would never buy one. I would never drive or buy a self-driving car or one that had that capability. I'm not interested. I'm going to get older cars with as few computer systems in them as possible because I trust myself more than I trust other drivers on the road. Senor Faces, you should invest in a self-manufacturing Fumo factory. Oh, God. Mike the Wop, clank mofos, hope all is good. Yes, it's all good. The garden is growing well, although, unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to strip down and go out there and hose myself off and then proceed to weed the garden. I mean, it's 90 degrees, so I'm going to be spraying myself off. I'm not going to take a shower tonight and figure I'll shower in the garden. Sparky Sticks, you likely made the mistake of thinking riding a bike is about balance. It isn't. It's about being confident that gyroscopic forces keep you upright as long as the wheels turn. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I'll say no though. I'll just get a tricycle. I'll get one with the basket on the front so that I don't tip over and I don't have to worry about those things. Webster's Wares. Good morning, clankers from Endicott, Washington. Free shipping using code STICKS at websterswares.com. We started a loyalty program with free gifts and buy one, get one free offers. Sign up now. Sounds pretty cool. By the way, you did send me these little survival things. You put lighter fluid in it and it has like a, let me show you. These are on Webster's Wares too. Yeah, you put fluid in there and it has like a little thing you strike on the side. And it's for, outdoor survival. It's going to be more reliable than like a disposable lighter. Pretty cool. Need to get a flint and steel too. Always wanted one of those. And a follow-up, if you have ordered from us in the past and sign up, we will add the equivalent points to your account. Always a good decision. Now, let's talk about Graceland. This one confuses the fuck out of me. Elvis Presley's iconic Graceland mansion up for auction amid foreclosure. Elvis's granddaughter claims fraud and fights back. Again, if you've inherited Graceland, you've got many more than just a few $1 million worth of shit there that could be liquidated. And it seems like they're trying to screw her and the family lineage out of having Graceland. This looks like a con job of some sort. I've seen some weird claims, like she was claiming that Lisa Marie Presley owed a number of millions of dollars, like they had exhausted the fortune or something, which would be difficult to do with that continuing revenue. Elvis, you realize that Elvis is still very, very popular, right? The king of rock. Peanut butter and banana sandwiches, man. I mean, they probably make several $1 million a year just on the album sales, let alone merch and the fucking museum that's there and the mansion and the tours that go on there. It's packed all the time. Probably 1 million people visited every year. That's a lot of income from just the ticket prices alone. But she's claiming the company, the one that's mentioned here, didn't exist, that the signatures were forged, that it wasn't notarized, among other things. This is one of the craziest cases that I've ever seen in my entire life. This is almost as crazy as the fucking Trump cases. The king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley's iconic Graceland mansion, is on the cusp of being sold at foreclosure auction this Thursday, which has led Elvis's granddaughter to fight back in a lawsuit. According to a notice provided by the Shelby County Courthouse in Memphis, Tennessee, Graceland and its surrounding estate are set to be auctioned off May 2nd in an auction. In response to the notice, they got an injunction, I guess, so they're still trying to go through with it, but there's a legal case ongoing as we speak. In response to the notice, Riley Q, the granddaughter of the late Elvis Presley, has called the auction a sham and filed a lawsuit to prevent the estate from being sold. On Monday, an attorney representing Q obtained a temporary restraining order to prevent the sale, and a junction hearing was set for Wednesday. And when you look at it, there was a $3.8 million loan from Nassani Investments and Private Lending. That was Lisa Presley. And supposedly Graceland was used as collateral for a loan. But it's looking like it might have been fraudulent from top to bottom, and that the company may not have actually existed at all at that time. This is one weird fucking case. She needs to hire a good attorney, because it sounds like there's something crazy going on here. It sounds like they're trying to cheat. I mean, if 3.8 million auction off Graceland, what are you fucking talking about? The house itself, even if it was stripped bare, is worth far more than 3.8 million. That's number one. Some of the contents there are worth hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars a piece. It would be like Neverland with Michael Jackson with his gold and platinum chess set and stuff like that. A couple of objects from the goddamn house could be liquidated and pay off the entire sum, but they seem to want to auction it off instead of giving the opportunity to make the notes right, assuming that this was even a real loan or something like that, to auction things off. Why would you? I mean, the collateral for the loan shouldn't be far in excess of the amount that was loaned. Now, should it? And God, you could use one of his private planes as collateral. This is Elvis Presley's Cessna. It's clearly worth a lot of money. Give me some fucking money. I'll use this as collateral. Loan me the money and I'll pay you back, or something like that. And where did the money go, by the way? And I'm not saying this as someone critical of Lisa Marie Presley. I think that she seemed rather nice, level-headed. She had some problems of her own, but she doesn't seem like a malevolent person. That's the other thing. I'm wondering, why would Lisa Marie Presley, who was so contesting with regards to this property, with regards to inheritance, why would she have done that to endanger the property? I don't know. Something is going on here, and we're either going to find out about it now, or we're going to find out about it later. I think I smell a rat. There's something wrong here. Feel sorry for the granddaughter in this particular case, because I have a feeling that there's an issue. Andrew Von Allen, what are your favorite bands and musicians from the 50s? I'm not a huge 50s fan. I like anything that has references to atomic war. Anything like that. Basically, the beatnik political music scene. I like that. But no, I mainly like the 80s. 70s and 90s are good. There's some good shit actually on the alternative channel now. Some people, they underestimate modern music. Gen Z music's better than millennial music. They took the new wave retro revival thing and they made it mainline at this point. It's in half the pop music sounds like a fusion of 80s new wave and cabaret from like the 1930s or something. It's very strange, actually, but I kind of like the sound. Alan Tanay Sticks, I was feeling sick. Doctor said I had lickma. There's an old joke. I get the reference. Billy Howard, polls show Trudeau can't win re-election. Your thoughts on him replacing Schwab, since his tyrannical, lying, and persuasive fear-mongering is unmatchable against other candidates? Yeah, but Canada has a weird election system, so he probably can get reelected. He doesn't need a majority of the vote. He might end up back in there again. The Canadians would be crazy to reelect him, but they're Canadians, so it's sort of like asking the Australians to make a sane policy. It's you hold your breath, you'll get anoxia. Biden administration canceling student loans for another 160,000 borrowers. Oh, there are so many asterisks after this headline. The first asterisk is that he's not canceling jack shit. This policy will immediately be injuncted and probably never be implemented. The second asterisk is if you look at the ramifications of what you have to do in order to qualify for that student loan debt forgiveness, aka dipping into the taxpayers' money, including people that were too poor to go to college or simply didn't, and now they're productive members of society, but they have to pony up the difference. You have to have repaid your loans for an extended period of time. And it only applies for people with need-based repayment plans. See, there are several problems. Let's say that somebody goes to college. Their family's relatively wealthy. They don't get need-based aid or anything like that. But now they've got need-based repayment because of the shitty economy. Well, then they qualify even though they came from relative wealth. Meanwhile, somebody who got in there and they came from absolutely nothing, who now has succeeded more, they don't get any student loan debt relief. What about people who never went to college? They went to trade school, which that's not covered under here, or they started their business or something. They get to pay more taxes. You're screwing the majority of the U.S. population in order to pay off a very small number of loans that are highly conditional. And then I see youth voters saying, oh, huzzah, Biden cares about us. This isn't going to go to youth voters. You have to have paid off for 10 years. Yeah, so in other words, you have to be at least in your late 20s in order to potentially take advantage of this. And that at least in your late 20s. If you started paying when you were in college, which most people don't do, they wait until later. Even then, I mean, technically, you're talking about a cutoff of generally early 30s, like my age. People my age, I could potentially qualify if I didn't make so much money. To be clear, anytime I talk about the student loan debt grift of the Biden administration, I'll admonish two things. Number one, none of his plans will relate to the youth vote, the ones that he's actually trying to court. It's a real slimy, sleazy grift. That's number one. Number two, I am student loan debt free. I want to assure everyone, I talked about it at the time, but I'll remind people when needed, when I talk about the subject, I paid off my student loans myself. I paid $20,000 fucking dollars last year, and I ended that and said, I don't want any money from anyone else. I'm not interested in having somebody who didn't go to college, but they kind of made it. And now they have to pay taxes, lots of them because of Bidenomics. I don't want them to pay money towards my student loans. I took myself off of that market out of principle. I didn't have to. I could have just made the minimum payments and just, staggered it off forever. It would have taken, decades to repay, and maybe Biden will give me a freebie at some point. Yes, government, let me suck your cock. Let me worship at your feet for having helped me. After screwing me in the first place by driving the price up of a public education through grants and through like the non-meritocratic aid system that you've implemented, which is the exact opposite of a wise system. You made the cost of college much more expensive specifically by getting involved in it. It's no longer a free market process. So they're trying to give free money to about 160,000 people. But in the end, it probably won't be a thing. Lol, not a cat. Sticks and Razor Scooters merch partner when? Yeah, never. BW, as someone who can't ride a bike, I would rather sit in a couple of skateboards and roll down the hill. Riding a bike is not easy, especially when you're out of shape. I'm not out of shape. I can't really balance it. Yes, I know. Gyroscopic forces, keep up the momentum, etc. Just trust yourself. Just trust the bike. No, thank you. I'll just get one with an extra wheel in front if I need one. Billy Howard. I already read that one. BW, yuck, electric swing. Vouch promotes that. Goodness. Terminator Trav, knowing that your receptors are fried, would you smoke a full joint for 50K? No, because I'd probably end up in the nut ward. So yeah, I would, yes, I would reject $50,000. Can't smoke it. Just can't enjoy it. Sparky, at 4 years old, my severely mentally handicapped sister, unprompted, got on a bike and began riding, having never been on a bike. She saw someone riding once and is good at noticing visual details. Yeah, good on her. I don't necessarily follow that myself. Opinionated junkie, EVs are good until the grind goes out. Lol. Yeah, I mean, all you need is one good solar flare, and then half the cars on the road are dead, and then you have to clean them out, and you have to use fossil fuel-powered vehicles to do it. Sparky, I taught myself to ride a bike at 4 years old, but it wasn't instant like my sister. I had to figure it out over a few days. Taught both my kid brothers to ride when they were 3. Yeah, I tried several times and I just gave up because, I mean, I'm not into bike. I'd rather walk anyway. Where do I go out? I go to the store sometimes and then I go hiking. Well, I'm not going to bring the bike into the woods. Hiking, I want to take pictures of mushrooms and stuff. I want to get down close to the grass and the fallen logs and stuff and look for mushrooms. Fani Willis and judge presiding over Georgia Trump election case. That's a RICO case in Fulton. Defeat challengers. It wasn't even close, by the way. It's not a huge surprise. This is a blue district. This is actually good for Donald Trump. Let me explain why. The fact that Fani Willis is now likely to remain on the case is damning because Fani Willis is fairly transparently understood to be a corrupt individual. She was having a relationship with a dude who she inexplicably paid more in a prosecutorial case after having talked publicly, much like Letitia James, about like getting Trump and stuff like that. She looks corrupt. There were payments involved that are corrupt. There was a relationship involved that should have been disclosed, and it wasn't. That's corrupt, etc. Having her and these other individuals remain on the Fulton case actually denigrates their ability to get a guilty verdict. Should she have lost, and or should the judge have lost, they could have ended up with an individual in there who would be at least perceived of as less corrupt, as less biased. If that were the case, it would be harder for Donald Trump. This is good news. No sane person who supports Trump wanted Fani Willis to be kicked off the case. I'm hoping that appeal doesn't actually result in her being removed. I hope that they keep her on the case because then you've got the DA that's prosecuting Donald Trump dead to rights effectively, publicly. In front of every potential juror, everyone knows Fani Willis was paying too much to this prosecutor. She was banging him. They were going on trips together. It doesn't help that he was at her victory celebration literally the other night now, does it? Yeah, Nathan Wade was actually there. Well, supposedly there's no more conflict of interest. They're still banging, dude. Well, that's going to look real good. And every prospective juror knows that. There's no sequestration at the moment. They are reading the news as we speak. Sparky, both my kid brothers went on to ride Honda QA50 trail bike motorcycles at 4 years old. I was never really into motorcycle stuff. When I was a kid, a lot of kids wanted dirt bikes. I was never really interested in it. Or those little scooters, the little electric ones that were kind of sort of self-propelled. A lot of people had those, but they were expensive at the time. Never was a fan. I like to walk. I like to take my time. If I'm in the woods or something, I want to like take my time, be calm. I don't have like earbuds in like a lot of people do. I want to hear nature and I want to see nature and sort of immerse myself because I mean, it gets me away from other people. I don't have to think about other people and what the fuck they're doing. I get a little bit of time just to myself to pretend that there's nobody else in the world. And I find that relaxing, actually. That's the same as with gardening. Some people, you know, they'll have their headphones blasting out in the garden. I don't understand it. Sparky, a four-wheeler might be good for you as you expand your estate. I don't need one of those either. Don't like tractors either. I do need to get one with a sod tiller, though, a sod turner, because I want to massively expand, and I'm not going to be able to do it with the brick-bordered methodology that I've typically used. I'm going to have to use a more standard gardening methodology. I'm thinking about no-till plus hugelkulture or something like that. U.S. to sell off strategic gasoline reserves in Northeast. Yes, the Biden derangement syndrome sufferers were pouncing on this the other day, but none of them read the article. It's sort of like many other articles that we've talked about recently, like with the Maryland gun decision where SCOTUS bounced it back to the lower courts. Liberals were pretending that this was some sort of a victory. No, it just means there's an extra point of failure in your legal arguments, necessitating likely that under the Bruin decision in the end, they take it up and they nix it anyway. If they don't do that at the lower court level, the appeals court. Washington. The U.S. Department of Energy announced Tuesday that it will sell off 1 million barrels of gasoline from a small strategic reserve in the Northeast, paving the way for its closure. Ta-da! There you go. This is not going to have the effect that Joe Biden is parroting it as being. He's saying, well, this will lower the gas prices over summer and make it easier for people to travel. Well, yeah, 1 million barrels of gasoline is not going to cut it. That's like what? A single day's worth of gasoline for our economy? So you'll save like half a cent for people throughout maybe a week's period of time. That's helpful. The benefit is negligible, but the detriment is also negligible. This is not the main stockpile that we're talking about. Biden did rob the strategic oil reserve, and we desperately need a law to prevent presidents in the future from doing that except in times of war or national crises, because it should not be seen as an investment piggy bank. Oh, I bought oil when it was $70 a barrel and now it's 110, so I offload it, and then when it goes down, I buy more. That's not what it was for. It's called the strategic oil reserve for a reason. But this particular very small gasoline reserve is going to be decommissioned anyway. It doesn't matter whether it goes away. And if you can save that half cent for your 4th of July travel plans, that's okay. It means absolutely nothing, but on paper, that's perfectly fine. By strategically releasing this reserve in between Memorial Day and July 4th, we are ensuring sufficient supply flows to the tri-state and Northeast at a time hardworking Americans need it most, U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm said in a statement. Yeah, again, you get a cent reduction in your gasoline prices. So that's really going to encourage people to travel. It means nothing, though. In the end, it gives you no major benefit, but it's also not a major detriment. I thought I'd talk about that because of the importance of properly analyzing news. This has happened many times over the last few weeks, especially. As the election rolls on, people who just genuinely hate Trump, genuinely hate Biden, etc. I mean, there's reasons for the latter. I'm amenable to that. I don't like him myself. But that doesn't mean that any shock headline that you see in a tweet shouldn't be analyzed further, and you shouldn't read the whole article before you opine on it. Because like in this case, this is a meaningless gesture. It doesn't give Biden anything. It doesn't give the economy anything like he's claiming that it will, but it's also that this is not a particularly dark moment for the nation or anything like that. People were sending it to me and acting like this was a major outflow from the strategic oil reserve. That's not what it is. It's about decommissioning a minor reserve from the Northeast to the tune of 1 million barrels of gasoline. That's a drop in the bucket. Nashville Cat 66. I rode a bike from Battle Creek, Mississippi, or is that Michigan, to Detroit. Oh, that's Michigan. Sorry. It took 13 hours and my butt hurt. I can imagine. The Happy Plague Doctor. Tractors are awesome. Yeah, and they come with a variety of attachments that are useful. Rototilling and sod turning and stuff like that. I do need to get some more farming equipment because the kind of expansion that I have in mind is going to require a much more beefy setup than the one that I have currently. I've expanded the garden. It's much larger than it was before, but I want to expand it far further. I want a home farm, basically. I want to have like an acre of crops. I want to do one of those like acre gardens that people do. I have to plan out the space. It's going to be difficult to figure out where the fuck I'm going to put it, but it is doable. King of Biltong, good morning from Anton's Meat Meat. Free shipping for your biltong using code STICKS on www.biltongusa.com and www.antonsusa.com. Check out our import groceries online and in store in Denton and Roanoke, Texas. Clank. Yeah, the chamomile, the biltong, the Sticks merch, of course. Got all sorts of stuff available. Those little sausages are a perfect stand-in for chorizo, for like a gumbo or something like that. Nikki941, do you think the establishment is pivoting to crashing the economy if Trump is elected, letting higher taxes, energy prices, and tariffs all hit at once, then gridlock Congress and blame populism? I would say there's a measurable chance that they're crazy enough to try that, yeah. They have to time it properly, though. And hopefully they'll fuck up if they try that. They will try to use human misery to try to stamp down people's populistic sentiment. Basically, if you don't vote for the Uniparty, we'll punish you. That's basically what it boils down to. They will try, and we'll see if it works. I do trust Trump on economic issues for obvious reasons. Now, this last news story, this is science news. It's anthropology time. One of the world's earliest farming villages housed surprisingly few people. Asterisk, they haven't proven this, they're suspecting this. Prior estimates assume that its buildings were simultaneously constructed and occupied. I've got a rebuttal to this article we'll get into. A farming-fueled baby boom, long thought to have sparked the rise of ancient cities in Southwest Asia, this is the Middle East, the Levant, etc., turns out to have been a bust. That is opinion, by the way. At a massive site in southern Turkey called Cadaver-like, large numbers of multi-room mud brick structures cluster in several parts of a settlement that covers an area equivalent to nearly 26 U.S. football fields. Since its discovery in the 1960s, population estimates for the ancient settlement have ranged from 2,800 to 10,000. If accurate, those numbers would support a decades-old idea that around 10,000 years ago, early Neolithic villages experienced rapid growth and revolutionary social changes thanks to plant and animal domestication. By the way, this has been posited because it lines up with the known timeline of that domestication and other archaeological sites. We will be rebutting this article in a moment. But an average of only 600 to 800 people lived at this farming and herding village during its heyday, around 8,600 years ago. Two archaeologists have concluded in the June Journal of Anthropological Archaeology. Children under age 5 represented roughly 30% of the population, says Ian Kujit of the University of Notre Dame in Indiana. And Arkadiusz Marciniak of Adam Mickiewicz University in Poznan, Poland. I'm probably butchering those fucking pronunciations. My apologies. The idea that they concluded is that the lodgings there were not built at the same time. And this is partially known. It did wax and wane over the course of its existence over centuries. And the idea is that only the newest structures in any level are inhabited. Can I please ask the evidence that the older structures were simply abandoned and that nobody was living in them? The problem with this there are so many problems with this positing, and there's a reason why I reject this out of hand. And I have studied archaeology. I've studied Cadaver-like, not in person, although I'd like to, but I understand Neolithic cultures and things like that. Here's why I would reject this. You're positing first that only a generation or two used any individual structure there. They were never reused. So I guess you have like this honeycomb structure keeps getting larger and only the outer ring is ever used. As though they sealed up, which we have no evidence of, the interior structures and they inexplicably were never used again. And for some reason, after a couple of generations, any member of that family would never inhabit it again and had to build a new structure. And so you wouldn't have had more than maybe a few hundred, maybe 1,000 people there. That's problem number one. I see no evidence of this. If anything, I would think that the pre-existing structures, since they're in the same rough shape, would have been maintained for that time period. Yeah, maybe occasionally you run out of room underneath your fireplace for all the cremation remains and the skulls, but that doesn't necessitate that they were all uninhabited. Well, let's say it's true anyway. 800 or 900 people still represents a significant organization that was not possessed by the hunter-gatherers and nomadic tribes of that time period. It would still represent a monumental leap in organization. We're talking a tribe of a couple hundred people, generally tops, splitting off through, well, not marriage, but mating and pairing up and things like that, and replicating and slowly, building little cultures. You don't think of 800 people living a largely sedentary lifestyle. It was unheard of. Everyone was a hunter-gatherer. They were nomads, horticulturalists at most. That was their level of organization not a few thousand years prior. Even if we assume that this stable settlement only did have 800 or 900 people in it, it would still be a significant structure. It would still be a significant community with organization well beyond the capacity of most of the local people at the time. There's a third problem. You have an older archaeological relic out there that could not have been created by a small tribe of people that were generally nomadic. It could only have been created by a group of people that had a surplus of food and significant social organization. I talk about Göbekli Tepe. That's older than Cadaver-like. That dates a couple thousand years earlier, actually. Originally, we thought it was impressive. You have these very large linteled stones with carvings of animals and so forth. You have, it's the size of a large house. This is a temple structure of some sort, a ritual or gathering place of some sort. We're not 100% sure. It hasn't been studied enough for us to be 100% on every aspect of what it was being used for, but it's a significant structure. I was reading about that even as a kid, like in Nat Geo and stuff like that. And they're like, this is a major find. It was found in the 50s, if I remember correctly, or 60s by a farmer. Also in that same general region of Turkey. He's plowing his fields up and he finds this stone with the markings on it. And then archaeologists come in and they say, well, shit, this is old. And it's really, really big. And it shouldn't exist at all because a bunch of Stone Age Neolithics without any social organization should not have been capable of erecting such a structure. Fairly recently, we found, it's not one structure. It's a whole compound of structures, which means that you needed even more organization. The manpower responsible to carve all those stones, get them upright, and then inexplicably, by the way, bury them in gravel at some point, thousands of years later, potentially, was massive. We're talking about an undertaking on the same scale as some of the smaller early pyramids. Well, those require a significant amount of social organization and possibly the concept, concept of the economy and things of that nature. A bunch of random nomads didn't suddenly get together and start carving rocks for no reason. There was a central impetus, central organization, at least subcentral, and there had to have been organizational capacity and possibly technology beyond what we currently know. A peak number of only 600 to 800 Cadaver-like inhabitants challenges a long-standing hypothesis that explosive population growth in early farming villages forced migration to new areas, rapidly spreading a Neolithic way of life, Marciniak says. Farming villages instead spread gradually in starts and stops. That part I agree with. Across Southwest Asia and Europe, he suspects, population booms and busts may have characterized agriculture's spreads. That does not mean that there were only 800 people at Cadaver-like at peak. Again, even then, you're talking about multiple tribal families living in proximity and organizing together. This requires a socio-political capacity beyond that of the basic tribal stage. So it doesn't matter. I mean, even if their positing is right, it doesn't nullify the basic concept. It just gives it conditions. I have a feeling they're wrong, though. I don't necessarily think that it was many thousands of people, certainly not the upper estimates, but it was more than 800, quite clearly. Jack the Reaper, what did I miss? Everything. You'll have to go back and watch it non-live. Sorry. That guy, do you think Trump will be convicted in this ridiculous trial? Do you think it will affect him? If he is, it helps him arguably more than if he's found not guilty. I'm thinking I may lean towards a hung jury, though. Whether they retry, I can't really say. Deborah Island Girl, love you, Sticks. Thank you. Alex Bogey, any advice on how to still motivate yourself to work when you don't have to? I always feel like a volunteer and don't have the patience with bosses now. Well, if you don't have to work, then work for yourself. Become self-employed and make your hobbies productive. Alex Bogey, this story reminds me of when I visited Mesa Verde. The tour guide said Anasazi Indians just moved on because they believed they belonged to the ocean. Yeah, that's a little bit of a cop-out. It's sort of like something terrible has happened. Well, why did it happen? Well, God wills it, you know. Yeah, we don't need to explain it. God did it or something like that. Lol, not a cat. They release articles while trying to leave out as much context as possible. The Strategic Oil Reserve has a capacity of over 700 million barrels. 1 million is practically a drop in the bucket, pun intended. Yeah, and it's not just crude oil. This is just gasoline. Pablo Miel, good morning, great leader. Love the garden updates. Self-reliance is more important now than ever with the uncertain future of the country. Have a great day. Very great. Thank you. And you too. By the way, please send no more super chats. I'll go off in a minute or two here. I got to do weeding in the garden, come to think of it. Nikki941, the Mexican cartels did fight the Bloods and Crips in California and effectively wiped out both in places like Compton and Long Beach. Glad to catch you live today. Yeah, not a big surprise. They have more capacity for organization since they basically control an entire country than street gangs tend to have. Kathleen Green, hi Sticks, thanks for flashing us your lovely man titties. Well, I mean, you're welcome. If you're into that, that's all good. No, it's like almost fucking 90 degrees right now. So, I mean, Jesus. Actually, what is the temperature? Let me look this up. Rutland, Vermont weather. Not Rutland, England. Yeah, supposedly it's only 81 degrees at the moment. I beg to fucking differ. Yeah, it's supposedly going to get up towards 90. Tomorrow it'll be a bit cooler, and then we're going to get a bunch of rain and some nice intermediate sunny days. That'll be nice. I will tell you, I am happy for the certain plants out there. Certain of them are doing very, very, very well in this weather. Like the tomatoes, which probably added a couple of inches last night, or the cucumbers that all of a sudden are vining out. The other day, they were little babies. Now they're juveniles. They're going through some changes. Salt A. Hey, Sticks, did you watch Ricada's Coke stream? No, I didn't, actually. Anyways, I thank you to the 4,000 people who tuned in live. I will be on at 5:30 p.m. Eastern today with the Quartering on his channels, YouTube, Rumble, and I believe, again, Twitter. We'll be talking about news and current events and everything else. I am his co-host Mondays and Wednesdays. And then, of course, tomorrow I'll be live at around the same time, 11:30 Eastern a.m. Or thereabouts as well for tomorrow's news. I've also got to get out in the garden. I got to do a lot of work. Got to prepare for travel. That's only in a week and a half, roughly, give or take a few days. I can't remember how many days are in May, and I don't care. But I've got to go eat bitterballen and stuff like that as well. So I got a lot on my plate at the moment. Also, I just inked another agreement, another business deal. So, yeah, there's some great shit going on. Lucrative, but it takes a lot of time. And I really, right now, all I wish is that I had a nice chili with okra in it. And that's really all I want. Then my life would finally be complete. That's about all. Peace out.